my ultimate favorite thing about this church is it was like a family. And when I was younger, everybody I went to school with went here. You know, so you would see your friends and everything. But even as they got older and got married and had their own kids, a lot of them still stayed at this parish.
Or at least came back for Christmas and Easter Mass.
So after Mass, it took them forever to for people to, people would stay for an hour. Like it would be like.
In August of 2020, after several years without being used, Mother of Sorrows Church, now a part of Archangel Gabriel Parish, was rendered desanctified. These windows, some from the previous church building, were repurposed and placed with new ones in the baptistry area of the 1967 church. Parishioners and others were invited to share remembrances and bid farewell to the building on August 20th, 2020. If anybody has any memories they'd like to share, you can stop here later. Use your memories. Hi, I knew that was you. I said I knew that was you. Yeah. If anybody has any memories they want to share later, stop back and
We want to take a picture.
Which one's your grandmother?
Calibre's right here.
Is that now? That's your grandparents, your grandfather.
That would be my mother. That would be my dad's mother and father.
Okay.
Right here, Felix.
Was that in the old church? Then they moved it up here.
I don't know. I think it was just brand new here.
Yeah, brand new.
Yeah.
Okay. Mother of Sorrows began as a parish for Italian immigrants who settled in the area known as Norwood. Established in 1906. The parish became the center of life for the community. But 22 years later, disaster struck as the old building caught fire.
I'm Michelangelo Deloisa. I was married at the Old Mother of Sorrows Church, October 15th, 1960. I was I was the last person that I know of that was in the Young Ladies Fidelity that the church had. What we would do is wait on everybody when they had the spaghetti dinners or the festivals. We would help out. And when we got married, we would wear a pin on our wedding gown. And then as the priest married us, the girl who was chosen, the bride chose from the organization to take the pin off before the priest would marry me. And when we would leave the church, we would get a statue like this for our own to keep. And on May Queenie Day, they would put a flowered crown on her, a flowered crown on the May Queen, and parade in church. We would go from the Mother of Sorrows Old Church, down around McCoy Road, up McCoy Road, down a little side street, up Benwood Avenue, up Harlem, to the old church, and the other ladies of the organization would have fresh gladiola to carry, and they would make an arch for the May Queen to march into church. And she would crown the Blessed Mother with the crown, and the priest would crown the May Queen with the crown. And what the parents of the May Queen would have to do is have the priest for lunch with all the girls and all the flowers in church. They had a beautiful satin cape. They had what they called a page boy with a pillow with the crowns on. And the little girls like flower girls. But as far as I know, Tina Kernan was the last one to get married. She got married on October 8th, and I got married on October 15th.
Confirmation classes at the parish were large because the sacrament was celebrated every few years and not annually like it is nowadays.
Hi, I'm Dina Kelly. This is my mother, Colleen Simcoe, formerly known as Colleen Pursuti, and my sister, Vanessa Schaefer. My mother made every sacrament here. My sister and I made most of ours until we changed to St. John of God. This church holds many fond memories for all of us. My grandfather, Dominic Pursuti, was an usher here for years. I remember coming with him Saturday nights to get the bulletins ready and everything to pass out. And this has always been my favorite church and beautiful.
Did you ever go use the old church?
I
Did you? Is that where you made some of your sacraments?
just communion. I can remember doing mass outside because it was so small. My dad would make me get out of the church
so that an elderly person could sit in the church.
Really?
And me and him would be outside. That's how holidays. That's how crowded.
That's how crowded it was. What priest was there then? You remember?
I went through a lot. Father Farina, Father Donato, Father Terza.
When the second church building proved too small, the parish leaders found a solution nearby and purchased property right up the street to build a third church, the old Ohio Valley General Hospital. The groundbreaking for the new church and religious education center took place in 1965.
Hi, we're John and Elaine Manjora, and we were buried here in this church in November 11th, 1978. Yep. And this church has a lot of memories for us. Even before that, I made my communion in the old Mother Sorrow's church, and we had, when our first child was born, Melissa, we had her here for the Christmas Eve Mass, and just as they placed the baby Jesus in the manger on the altar, she started crying. And Father stopped Mass and said, that was the most perfect time he's ever seen. But just seeing the stained glass windows mean a lot to our family as well.
You have some family up there?
We have some family up here. We have Joseph Castellucci Sr. right here. And my grandmother and grandfather, and then my other grandmother and grandfather, Augustino Colantoni families. And that window, that meant a lot to them. They talked about having that stained glass window here all the time. It really meant a lot to them. A lot of good memories.
So I remember the old church. But then all my other sacraments were made here, confirmation. And my husband and I were married here. My son was christened here and also made his communion and confirmation.
What year were you
Although
married?
by then it was St. John of God. So his was done at St. Mary's, but still, it was the same parish.
What year were you married?
What year was I married? 1986.
Okay.
And well, as a child, I remember Father Farina and Father Tambucci. And I remember, like, as a child, you were like scared, not scared, but they used to wear the long garments then. And you'd be sitting there and you'd see them coming, and they're black, they used to be long. That's what they always wore.
So I was young when Father Farina was here. Then when I was a little older, was the fathers early?
There were a lot of them. Danino, Father Danino.
Father Danino.
And we were married by Father Terza, my husband and I.
And of course they all.
Processions were a time-honored tradition at Mother of Sorrows that brought the faith into the streets. And that's, who is that in the St. Nicholas?
DeLewis is our last name, so it's Hank, Rose, and Cindy.
Oh, okay. And who was the Lewis and Etsy?
Yeah. That's his mother's maiden name is Etsy.
Oh, all right.
So that's both of his parents, DeLewis and Etsy. Both, yeah, right? Yeah. Never been here.
I live in Mark Weaver, and yes, Linda Vasello, Mark Weaver, and we were married here in 2005. I have many memories here. Made my first Holy Communion here, confirmation, all the sacraments. So it's exciting to be here, but sad to see it to go.
Father Teresa married us.
Oh, Father Terza.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
My name is Debbie Funlow. I was the first class to make their first Holy Communion here in 1967.
A marble sculpture of the Holy Family once stood in the courtyard at Mother of Sorrows. Now it welcomes students at Archangel Gabriel School.
I'm Jerry Didacedario, and I grew up here in the new church after coming from the old Mother of Sorrows. And this is a little walk back in time here. Sad to see, but it's good to be here today. I wanted to stop by here. This window is dedicated to my grandmother by her children and my mother. Long time ago.
Which one was your mother, Betty or Louise? D.
That was my mom. And she taught CCD here for many, many years. And I always run into people that say, oh yes, your mom taught me in CCD.
What grade?
It was the younger kids.
Uh-huh.
Matter of fact, Father Steve Pressick,
Yeah.
she had him.
Ah.
And she told him when he was a little boy, you know, someday you will be a good priest.
That's how it works.
And he is today. And he said that when he was an intern at our parish in Newcastle, St. Camillus. He mentions it that day. That was
very cool.
A prideful moment. A lot of memories, weddings. I served here. My sister Judy, she has memories. It just.
I made my first Holy Communion here, and I remember Father Farina. He used to get everybody by the sheet.
Yeah.
Freezing.
Yeah. Good man, though.
All right. Thank you. Religious education was an important part of parish life. Under Father Joseph Farina, catechists were sent for training through Duquesne University.
So I would say I remember walking up here. We grew up in West Park, and we would walk up on Saturday mornings to go to CCD from down the hill.
Right.
Yeah.
Walk up Dorman Street, right, and then up. And then I remember our parents would pick us up, probably usually Dad, and we would walk home and then like watch cartoons on Saturday. And then I remember in high school, and she's older than me, so she didn't do this with me, but in high school, we lived on Russellwood, and there was a bunch of Italian kids, the Panas, the Caristos, the Desiderios, and either Mr. D or Mrs. Caristo would ride all of us kids up to CCD. They'd ride us up to CCD, and then we'd all go sit in church together in a pew. And then, you know, one of them would ride us home, and we did that until we graduated from high school. And Dave DeMichael was our favorite CCD teacher.
Wow.
We loved Dave DeMichael.
When the McKees Rocks parishes merged in 1993 and became St. John of God, the already merged Catholic elementary school found its way to the Mother of Sorrows campus. Like people everywhere, the parishioners were proud of their parish church and identified with it because their ancestors sacrificed to make it a reality. So many people walked through its doors, celebrated life events there, and were sent back to God at the close of their earthly journeys. We honor them all and fondly remember this beautiful piece of our history.